The Shanti Mantra, peace chant for today's class is a stanza from a Sanskrit drama attributed to Hanuman, depicting the story of Ramayana. I shall chant the hymn, the Shanti Mantra, and read the translation. Om Yam Shaiva Samapasate Shiva iti Brahmeti Vedantino Bauddha Buddha iti Pramana Patavaha Karteti Nayyayikaha Arhanyityatha Jaina Shasanarataha Karmeti Mimamsakaha Soyam no Vidadhatu Vanchita Phalam Trailokyanaatho Harihi Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Supreme Lord of the Universe, the remover of all evil, whom the devotees of Shiva worship as Shiva, the Vedantins as Brahman, the Buddhists as the Buddha, the followers of the Nyaya philosophy, who are very well versed in logic, as the agent, and those devoted to the Jaina doctrines as Arhat, and ritualists of the Mimamsa school as Karman. May that Lord grant us all our heart's desires. Om peace. May there be peace in our hearts. May there be peace and harmony amongst all beings. And may there be peace in nature. This stanza, which occurs in the first act of this drama called Hanuman Nataka, was written by Hanuman himself, depicting the story of Ramayana. And those days, there was no paper to write on. So he etched the whole drama on big boulders, huge boulders, many of them. After that, Valmiki, the first poet who wrote Ramayana, he happened to read this drama written by Hanuman. And Valmiki, when he read this drama, which is called Hanuman Nataka, he became a little bit apprehensive, afraid that this drama written by Hanuman is so good that his own Valmiki Ramayana, which Valmiki wrote, people may not read that anymore. Hanuman's drama surpasses Valmiki's Ramayana. So he became afraid and expressed his fear to Hanuman. Hanuman said, "No problem, I will throw this away." He threw all the boulders into the ocean without a second thought. And it was lost. The Ramayana written by Hanuman was lost, and nobody knew about it for a long time. Many centuries later, there was a king who was a promoter of all the arts, fine arts, literature, music, all the arts. And a very interesting incident happened. During that king's regime, there was a fisherman. Many fishermen were there whose livelihood consisted in going to the ocean going to the sea and catching fish and selling. So when one fisherman went, he went deep into the ocean, and there he came across something which seemed very unusual. He came across a big boulder on which something seemed to have been written. So he, out of curiosity, he brought it up to the surface. And he did not know what it was. Somehow that boulder, which contained part of Hanuman's drama, came to the attention of the king. He was a connoisseur of literature and arts. The king thought that this is an exceptionally very good composition written by somebody very gifted person, but it is not complete. There must be more to it. He got that idea, the king. Then the king told the fisherman, go down and see, there must be more boulders like this. So all the fishermen went in search of the boulders. They got many, many more boulders on which something was written. They brought all of those things together. And the king put them all together and reconstituted this drama written by Hanuman called Hanuman Nataka. And that's a very high quality literature, Nataka, and that is available now, but the printed book is out of stock. I saw one copy of that Hanuman Nataka in somebody's house. That was the only copy available. It's not available for purchase in print now, but I hope somebody will reprint it. So this Hanuman Nataka has the Shanti Mantra. It is so nice. I like it so much. I like to chant it again. Om Yam Shaiva Samupasate Shiva iti Brahmeti Vedantino Buddha Buddha iti Pramana Patavah Karteti Nayayikah Arhanyityatha Jaina Shasanarataha Karmeti Mimamsakaha Soyam no vidadhata vanchita phalam Trailokyanato hrihi Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Last time we just began the study of the last part of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, a very important section where the qualities of a Sthita Prajna, a sage of steady wisdom, are described by Bhagavan Sri Krishna. As we noticed last time, this long list of qualities, virtues of a Sthita Prajna, has two aspects. One is these virtues describe a person who has achieved the highest state of awareness, who is established in the awareness that he himself is none other than the self, transcending, giving up the body consciousness. Ordinarily, most people think that we are the body, we are the mind, and limit ourselves to this one personality. But Vedanta says you are not that. You are not the body, you are not the mind, you are the Atman. A person who has achieved that state of awareness is called Sthita Prajna. In the commentary, Shankara, commentary on verse 54, in second chapter of the Gita, Shankara describes a Sthita Prajna in this way. Aham asmi param brahma iti prajna yasya sah Sthita Prajna. Prajna means awareness. Aham brahma iti yasya prajna. A person who is firmly and unwaveringly established in the awareness that he is Brahman. is not the body-mind. He has given up the body-mind identity. He is experiencing every moment his infinite nature as the self, as the Atman. Such a person is a sage of steady wisdom, and this awareness is not coming and going, it is not wavering. It's always there, he is firmly established in it. Such a person is a Sita Prajna. So Arjuna's question was in the previous verse number 54. Arjuna's question was, what are the qualities of such a person? How can he be recognized? So there is a description part in the answer to give of Sri Krishna to this question. Sri Krishna describes such a person in terms of a series of virtues or values or qualities. The descriptive part. But this list also serves as a prescription for all of us, aspirants, spiritual aspirants, as things to do. By practicing these virtues, we can also become Sita Prajnas. Actually, potentially, we are all Sita Prajnas. The divinity is in every one of us in potential form. But it remains potential, does not become manifest. We don't experience it if we don't do spiritual practices. So by practicing these virtues, which are going to be described in verse 55 onwards until the end of this chapter by Sri Krishna, we all can and should become Sita Prajnas. That is the prescriptive part of this list. So we'll go back to verse number 55, where Sri Krishna begins his answer. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan atmanyevatmana tuштah sthita prajnastadochyate. Very nice verse. Bhagavan says, I will restate this verse in prose form. Yada sarvan manogatan kaman prajahati atmani eva atmana tushtaha tada sita prajna iti uchyate. That means when a person is able to conquer, control all the desires that arise in a person's mind, one thing, and secondly, one who is fully satisfied, finds total joy in one's own self. Atmani eva atmana tushtaha. Not depending upon anything outside experience, object, situation, possession for happiness. Finding joy within oneself, infinite joy within oneself. Such a person is known as a Sthita Prajna, a sage of steady wisdom. Now let us try to understand these two things. There are two things mentioned in this verse. First is control of all the desires, sarvan kaman, all desires that arise in the mind. A person must be able to control them. Prajahati means, Shankara says, parityajati, gives them up, is not affected by them, does not hanker to fulfill the desires that arise in the mind. Why does it not do that one? Because he is already experiencing infinite joy. There is nothing more that can be added to increase his happiness. He is finding infinite happiness within oneself. Second part is atmani eva atmana tushtaha. Ordinarily, we find happiness in external things, outside things. How do most people try to find happiness? In several ways. First of all, a person is happy if he has a lot of possessions, property, money, wealth. The contention being that more money I have, happier I will be. Whether it is true or not, we will examine. But that is the common contention, or we can call it misapprehension, misunderstanding. If I have more money, bigger house, more cars, bigger cars, expensive things, then I will be happy. I will be happier. That is one way people try to find happiness, by acquiring things, more and more things, believing that more things will bring more happiness. We have to examine whether it is true or not. We will do that one. Secondly, people try to find happiness in relationships. A person is alone, that person feels lonely. He thinks that if he has a family, husband or wife, and then if he has children, that will, all of those things will make him more happy, bring him more happiness. Relationships with the family members, with husband, with wife, with other people, with parents, with friends, with children. Those things we seek to find happiness in relationships. That also has to be examined. Third thing that people do to find happiness is to seek happiness in fame, name and fame, becoming famous, acquiring power, acquiring a high position. If I become the CEO of this company, I will be happier. I am only a vice president now, I am only an executive now. If I become the president of the company, I will be happy. Like this, they try to find happiness in position, power, fame, etc. Now, a Sthitaprajna does not do any of these things. He is happy within one's own self. He does not hanker for anything that he does not have, because he is already experiencing infinite joy from the self. Atmani eva atmana tushtaha. In the self alone, he is satisfied with the self by the self. Does not depend upon anything external for his happiness. Nothing else in this world can increase his happiness, because he is already experiencing infinite happiness. In the Upanishad, we study that all happiness will come from the self alone. Although external objects, situations and relationships seem to give some happiness, there is no intrinsic happiness in outside things. If money had intrinsic power to give us happiness, if clothing, possession, property, house, big car, if all those things had intrinsic power to give us happiness, if relationships had intrinsic power to give us happiness, then three things must happen. Do they happen? We have to examine. Where does happiness come from? Where is the locus of happiness? To do this, we will do this kind of analysis. If money has power to bring happiness, then three things must happen. First thing is, it must always bring happiness. If money had intrinsic power to give us happiness, it must always give happiness. That's the meaning of intrinsic power. Unwaveringly, invariably, at all times it must give happiness. One thing. Does it? Let us ponder that question. Second thing, if money had intrinsic power to give us happiness, more of it must give more happiness. Does it? We have to analyze that question. Think about that question. Third thing is, if money has power to bring happiness, then it must give happiness to everybody under all circumstances. Does it? These three things we have to analyze. For example, if a person has lot of money has power to bring happiness, he must have lot of happiness. It does not. See, supposing he becomes old and sick, he is lying on the deathbed in the hospital, intubated, on the respirator, he has millions of dollars in the bank. All that money, will it bring him happiness? Will it make him happy? No. At one time it did, but now it does not. Same thing about relationships. Relationship with another person, if it brings happiness, it must always bring happiness. Unvaryingly, it must bring happiness. It does not. We see that every day in our experience. Two people find joy in each other's company. They say to each other, I love you, I cannot live without you, I want to spend my life with you. They are very happy together. But that happiness must be permanent. If the happiness is in the relationship, they are always together. What happens? Sometimes the relationship fails. The same two people who went to a court to get united, to be together forever, until death does them apart, the same two people go to the same court to become separated. I hate you, I hate you. What happened? Say this person is same, that person is same. That means, is there any happiness in the relationship, or did it come from someplace else? Upanishad says happiness comes only from the self. The only source of joy, the only source of infinite, eternal, unfailing joy is the self, Atman within, which is already within us. There is no need to seek seek that happiness outside. Seeking happiness outside in relationships, in possession, in property, in fame, in position, power, all these things, is bound to fail, because we are seeking happiness where it cannot be found. We have to find happiness in the place where it can be found, where it is present. And Sthita Prajna has succeeded in doing that. He has discovered that infinite fountain of joy within the self, which is already intrinsically within him. It cannot be lost because that is he. It's something that we do not have. It is something that we are. We can't lose ourselves. If we acquire something that we are likely to lose it. If it is intrinsic within us, if it's our true nature, if that is what we truly are, then how can we lose ourselves? That joy is always within us. So the sign of wisdom is to find that joy within oneself and not depend upon external objects which cannot give us lasting, unwavering happiness. All this is nicely explained in one verse in chapter 5. I have referred to this verse several times before, chapter 5, verse number 22. There Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, chapter 5, verse 22 in the Gita. There Bhagavan Sri Krishna explains succinctly how futile it is to find happiness in outside things, in relationships, in possessions, in property, in power, in fame, in beauty, in wealth and youth. One cannot find permanent happiness in these things. Although sometimes some happiness may seem to come from these things, it is coming from the self within. The same self is present in all those objects in other people too. That's where it is coming from, not from the personality or from the object itself. So there is one verse, chapter 5, verse 22, where Sri Krishna has explained the uselessness, the futility of trying to find happiness in outside objects. There he says, Ye hi samsparshaja bhoga dukkhayo evate adyantavantah kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Very nice verse. Samsparshaja bhoga. Bhoga means enjoyment, happiness. Coming from samsparshaja, born out of or coming from contact with outside sense objects. That kind of happiness which most people seek, that kind of happiness, ye samsparshaja bhoga, dukkayone evate, they only cause disillusionment, unhappiness in the end. For some time they bring happiness, and it will end because of various reasons which you can understand. And when that happiness ends, a person becomes very unhappy. Dukkayone cause only dukkha, unhappiness in the end. In the beginning they show some happiness, then we become attached to that one, become dependent on that one, and then when that is taken away from us, or we have to leave that one, somewhere or other separation comes, only unhappiness comes. Why is there separation? Because everything has a beginning and an end. All relationships have a beginning and an end. For a relationship to happen and bring happiness, there must be two things. A person who is seeking happiness and another object or a person who is supposed to give happiness. One way or the other, the separation will come because nothing is permanent. Sri Krishna says, Adyantavantaha, O Kaunteya, O Arjuna, everything has a beginning and an end. Adi Anta. This personality who is seeking happiness, that personality has a beginning and an end. That person was not there before he was born. That person who is seeking happiness will not be there after he dies. So that is not permanent. And the object or person from in whom happiness is sought, that is also impermanent. So there is no way that we can get permanent joy in relationship. Adyantavantaha. Even if both people are present, both things are present, something may change, and the very same person, very same object which gave happiness at one time may give great unhappiness at other time. This we know. For example, somebody finds a lot of happiness in eating good food. Cream cheese and chocolate cake and pizza and all kinds of things a person keeps on eating, finds happiness. Then what happens after some time, those very items of food which at one time gave happiness, they become like poison. You cannot eat any of those things because this person's body changes. So we know that from experience. So this is not the way to find happiness on a permanent basis. No, there is no permanent, unchanging, unwavering happiness in outside objects because they have a beginning and an end. And they are highly conditional, samsparshaja. Both of them must be willing to give happiness to each other, highly conditional. Dukkhayornya evate, adyantavantaha kaunteya, therefore, nateshu ramate buddhaha. Buddha means a buddhiman, a wise person, endowed with wisdom. Such a person does not take any delight in seeking happiness in outside objects. The reason why such a person does not delight in outside sources of happiness is that person has already found Ishta Prajna. Ishta Prajna has already found the infinite source of fountain of joy within oneself, which cannot be lost, which is what he truly is. When you have that one, then you don't care for the small things that the outside world entices you with. So that is why here it is Sri Krishna says, Ishta Prajna is one who has found the infinite joy of fountain of infinite joy, eternal fountain of infinite joy within oneself, Atmani eva. There is no need for outside objects. If you move to some other place, I'll be happier. If I change my job, I'll be happier. If I marry this person, I'll be happier. If I got one more child, I will be happy. All those things hankering will not be there. There's nothing more that this world can add to infinite joy that he already has. Infinite cannot be increased by adding 1 or 2 or 10 more to it. That is the sign of a Sthita Prajna. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. A person who can handle, who can conquer, who can control all desires. Not having desire itself is by itself may not be a good thing. Some people have a pathological problem, psychological problem. They have no motivation, they have no desire. They sit in one room in a corner, they say, I don't want anything. There are people like that in places. They don't have any motivation. They don't want to get up and do anything. They sit in a corner and say, I don't want anything. That is not Sthita Prajna. They are not happy people. They are unhappy people. They have some problem. So not simply having desire can be due to lack of motivation or due to some problem, health problem. That is not enough. A person must be joyful. Atushta, atmaneva atmana atushta. A person must be great, very highly successful, highly joyful. Person must not be morose and a failure. A person who is highly satisfied within oneself, happy within oneself, such a person is a Sita Prajna. For example, we can take the example of Sri Ramakrishna and people like Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. In terms of material property, how much did they have? What did they have? Sri Ramakrishna never touched money. He didn't have any money. He didn't have any bank balance. But he unhappy. He was so happy that his human frame could not contain the joy. Sometimes it would freeze and he would go into samadhi. So much joy would come from this devotion to the Divine Mother that he could not even contain it. He would freeze. He would go into samadhi. He was by no means unhappy, always cheerful, always joyful. Similarly, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi was an unhappy person. He didn't go about and do anything to find happiness. He didn't try to acquire money or job or a position or family or anything. He sat in a cave. Was he unhappy? No. He was so joyful. Where did his happiness come from? From the self within. He didn't have any property at all. At one time, the only worldly possession he had was one piece of loincloth, kopinam. That's all he had in terms of property. It does not mean that he was unhappy. He was full of joy, peaceful within. From where did his happiness come from? From knowing that he is the self. He was a Brahmajnani. He was a Jnani. He knew that he is the Atman. That Atman is the source of Sachidananda himself. He is. Then what else can make him happier? What else can add to his happiness? The only possession he had was one piece of loincloth. Every morning he would take bath in a stream that was flowing next to the cave and wash the loincloth and put it back on his body. And that was the only thing he had. So the sign of Sita Prajna is to find happiness within oneself, not depending upon any joy or pleasure in outside objects. This is explained in couple of more places in the Bhagavad Gita. In the 3rd chapter, if you like to make a note of these 2 verses, you may, otherwise you may disregard it. Chapter 3, verse number 17. There Sri Krishna says the same thing. The verse is chapter 3, verse 17. Yastu atmaritareva syat atmatriptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. Here Sri Krishna says atmariti. Rati means enjoyment, happiness. Rati means bliss, ananda. Atmariti means one who has self, who has happiness, who is happy within himself, not depending upon external sources. Other people's praises will become happy. Such a thing is not there. Atmaritireva syat. Atma triptasya manavaha. Tripti means contentment. It's content within oneself. There's nothing more that is outside that can make him increase his happiness. Atma triptasya manavaha. Atmanyeva cha santushtaha. Very pleased within oneself, not depending upon anything outside. Such a person is a Sita Prajna. This is verse number 17 in chapter 3. Similarly, in chapter 5 there is another verse number 21. Chapter 5, verse 21. There Sri Krishna says almost the same thing. There he says, Bhashyasparsheshvasaktatma vindatyatman yat sukham sabrahmayoga yuktatma sukham akshayam ashnute. Akshayam sukham ashnute. Akshaya means imperishable, inexhaustible. A person who finds joy within oneself, 2 things happen. One thing is Bahya Sparsheshu Asaktatma. Bahya Sparsha means sense objects. Sparsha means contact. Contact means contact with some outside sense object. It can be another person, it can be something else. Bahya Sparsheshu Asaktatma. A person who has no interest in seeking something outside in order to find happiness from it. Because such a person, Atmani Yatsukam Indate, whatever happiness that person finds within one's own self, within one's own Atman, Saha Akshayam Sukhamasnute. Akshayam means imperishable, inexhaustible, infinite happiness such a person experiences. So that is a quality of the Sthita Prajna. Otherwise, if you depend upon outside objects, hanker for outside things, money, power, fame, position, family, relationships, long life, beauty, youth, etc., for happiness, you will never find happiness. You will never find happiness in outside things, permanent happiness. There is a very nice story. It occurs both in the Bhagavata Puranam, and in the Mahabharata also. The story has come several times in our Sunday talks. There was a king. His name was, some of you may remember, Yayati. Yayati was a king. Yayati was a very wealthy king, lot of kingdom and money, everything was there. And he married. And when the marriage took place, his wife wanted him to promise that he will not take another wife. In those days, kings could take more than one wife. So this lady, I think her name was Devayani, she made Yayati promise that he should not take another wife, that she should be the only queen. Yayati promised. He said yes. So they married and they were happy for quite some time. Then what happened? After some time, the Yayati fell in love with another woman. And he wanted to marry that person also. Second, he got that other woman also he brought in as a second wife. Then the first wife became very unhappy because Yayati broke his promise. The first wife's father also became very unhappy that the son-in-law cheated on his daughter. So the father-in-law curses Yayati. Father-in-law says to Yayati, you cheated on my daughter, you broke your promise, so I curse that your youth should go away and you should become an old man. You will not be able to enjoy any more thing. You become an old man. Curse. So Yayati became an old man. In age he was still young, but his body became the body of an old man. When a person becomes old, body becomes old, there is no enjoyment is possible. You had kingdom, money, wealth, 2 wives, everything, but he could not enjoy anything because he became an old man. In old age, we can't enjoy anything. We can't enjoy food, we don't enjoy very good clothes or movies or anything, nothing. Our body problems are there, health problems will come. So Yayati became very unhappy. Desire was there to enjoy, but the material resources were also there to enjoy, but he could not enjoy because of old age. Premature old age came. So Yayati goes back to the father-in-law, begs for forgiveness. Sir, I am sorry, I made a mistake. You please somehow cancel this curse, remove this curse. Father-in-law says, no, I cannot. Once a word is spoken, it will have to come true. But the son-in-law Yayati was very repentant. So father-in-law says, all right, there's a one way out of this one. In your kingdom, you find somebody who is a young person in your kingdom who is willing to exchange his youth with your old age. Bring such a person, I will make the ceremony, I will make the transfer happen. Bring a person from your kingdom, anybody in your kingdom, any man, young man, who should be willing to exchange his youth with your old age. Yayati goes back to his kingdom and makes an announcement in the whole kingdom. The announcement is, if any young person in this kingdom who is willing to exchange his youth with my old age, I will give him half the kingdom. Before that, he approaches his sons. He had 3 or 4 sons. He goes to his first son, young man, Yayati, says, son, this problem has come. I want to enjoy, I want to regain my youth. Will you be willing to give me your youth and take my old age? I'll give you half the kingdom now and remaining kingdom when I die. First son says, no, Dad, I want to enjoy myself. I don't want to give up my youth. Kingdom I will get anyhow when you die. First son refused. Yayati goes to second son. Second son says the same thing. No, sir, it's your problem. You deal with it. I want to keep my youth for myself. I'll get the kingdom anyhow later. Third son, same thing. Fourth son was of a different nature. When Yayati goes to the fourth son and asks him, will you give me your youth and exchange your youth for my old age, and I'll give you half the kingdom now. Fourth son said, Father, I will give the youth to you right now. You take it. I don't want any kingdom now or later. Half the kingdom, I don't want anything. You take my youth and I'll be happy to take your old age. That was the only person in the whole kingdom who was willing to do that one. Yayati thought there will be a long line of people in front of his palace when he announced that anybody who will exchange his youth with his old age will get the kingdom. No one was willing to do that one. So Yayati goes back to his father-in-law with his last son, and ceremony was made. Yayati regains his youth, and the son becomes an old man, and he goes away. Yayati begins to enjoy with great gusto his pleasures, because he had all the resources, kingdom and everything, and money and whatever, only resources, pleasures that only a king can afford, he had, and he goes on enjoying them for a long time. Now what happens? Old age again comes in course of natural process of aging. The second youth also went away. He became old again a second time. But he was being a reflective person, thoughtful person. He comes to the conclusion that he says to himself, he says to his wife, I have enjoyed more pleasures than any other human being can enjoy, because I have all the resources that only a king has. And I have enjoyed for a much longer period of time all the pleasures that anybody else can have, because I had second time also I got youth and enjoyed, kept on enjoying. But still, my desire for enjoyment has not diminished even a little bit. Therefore, he comes to the conclusion, Yayati comes to the conclusion that fulfilling a desire, to become free from the desire is not the way. It will only become a stronger desire. If you have desire in the mind, if you try to fulfill it by and get rid of the desire, it will not happen. It will become stronger. It will demand more. So he comes up with this very insightful statement which occurs in the Bhagavata. He says to his wife, Najata kama kamanam upabhogena shamyate havisha krishna vartmeva bhuya eva abhivardhate. Kamanam upabhogena kama na shamyate. By fulfilling the desire will not go away. It will come back and demands more, becomes a stronger desire. How? He gives an example. If there is a fire, and if you want to quench the fire, if you pour ghee on it in order to quench the fire, the fire will not be quenched, it will become bigger fire. If you pour ghee on a fire to quench it, the fire becomes a bigger fire, it will not be quenched. Desires are like that. The more you fulfill, the stronger they become. Therefore, that is not the way. Then what is the way? Desires are there. If you fulfill them, they will not go away. They will come back and demand more. The way is to find happiness in the self, not in the outside objects. That's what Isita Prajna has done. Atmanye atmana tushtaha. Finding joy, finding infinite happiness, inexhaustible happiness in one's own self, which is one's true nature, that is the way to find happiness. Looking for happiness in outside things, in property, in possessions, in fame and praise, In youth, in beauty, in relationships, it is a futile attempt to find happiness where it cannot be found. Chitta Prajna is one who has succeeded in finding the happiness by knowing his true nature. We all can do that one because we are all Atman. Potentially, Atman, same self is within us all. But we have to give up this ignorance that I am the body, I am the mind, and we have to acquire knowledge of the self, and that's when we all can become Chitta Prajna. Then we will be able to deal with all the no desire will bother us at that time because there is nothing that can make me happier than I already am. I'm infinitely happy. What else can make me? Another $10 will not make me happier. Another $1,000,000 will not make me happier. I'm happy more than any other amount of money can bring already. That is the state of a Chitta Prajna. So the verse number 55. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogataan atmanyevatmana tushtaha Sita Prajnastadochyate. Very nice verse. There are a lot of things here to reflect upon. Now we go to the second verse, verse number 56, continuing the description of a Sita Prajna. Here Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, verse 56 in chapter 2, Dukkheshvanudvignamanaha Sukheshu Vigataspraha Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Sthita Dhir Muniruchyate. Dukkheshu Anudvignamanaha Sukheshu Vigataspraha Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Raga Bhaya Krodha Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Sthita Dhir Muniruchyate. More qualities of Sthita Prajna. Here one quality which comes very frequently throughout the Bhagavad Gita is the quality of equanimity in pain and pleasure. First thing, Dukkheshu Anudvignamanaha. An ordinary person is upset by every small thing. Some small problem comes, that person becomes upset, happy, unhappy, angry, bitter, sad, depressed, dejected. Sometimes requiring medical intervention, depression comes. Something has gone wrong. For a Sthita Prajna, there's nothing that bothers that person. He is unconditionally happy, unwaveringly happy, no matter what happens in life. Praise or blame or gain or loss or pain or pleasure, whatever happens, that person is unconditionally happy within oneself. Does not depend upon what other people think about me. If other people praise me, I'll be happy. If other people blame me, I'll be unhappy. There is no such thing for a Sthita Prajna. Dukkheshu Anudvignamanaha. Udvega means excitement, turbulence in a person's mind. Udvega means turbulence, disturbance in a person's mind. Anudvignamanaha means a person whose mind is not disturbed at all, no matter what happens. No matter what happens, a person's mind remains constantly steady and calm and peaceful. If you want to find such a person, so many people have like that, are there even now, have been there, are there. I will recommend that to study the life of Swami Sharadanandaji Maharaj, Sri Ramakrishna's disciple. Among all the 16 monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, it was only Swami Sharadananda who could write the biography of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna, the great master. That book was written by Swami Sharadananda. That person was a Sthita Prajna. No matter what happened, he remains totally unperturbed. Even if the life is in danger, doesn't bother him. There are several instances in Swami Sharadananda's life. If you have time, we'll recall the instances. Otherwise, we'll do the first part of the sloka. Dukkheshu Anudvignamanaha. Dukkha means any kind of unhappiness, any kind of problem afflicting a person. Financial problem, health problem, family problem, relationship problem, children problem, parent problem, husband-wife problem, job problem, anything, any kind of problem, if comes to a person, Anudvignamanaha, a Sthita Prajna remains totally unperturbed. In his own words, Swami Sharadananda explains in his biography. He says, Once she was crossing a river, I think to go to Dakshineshwar with in a boat. And in the middle of the river, the boat began to, there was a storm and the boat began to sway wildly from side to side, and all the passengers became upset, panicky. They started jumping up and down, howling, yelling, screaming, oh, you are going to die, we are going to die, jumping about. And then Swamiji was also in the boat. He simply sat there absolutely calmly, no trace of fear or any kind of disturbance in the mind. He himself describes this incident in his biography. He remained totally unperturbed, absolutely calm he remained. Everybody was afraid that the boat is going to sink and everybody is going to die. Nothing happened. He said, if the boat is going to sink, everybody will die, I will also die. If it does not sink, then I will not die. In either case, I have nothing to do. If I jump up and down, it will not stop the boat from sinking if it is going to sink. So why to worry? He just sat there absolutely calmly and peacefully. Many instances like this in his life happened. Swami Sharadananda, Dasaratha Maharaj. So what is Sita Prajna? Anudvigna Manaha, a person whose mind remains totally unperturbed in the face of extreme difficulty or any kind of problem or situation, unhappy situation. Then, in the few minutes I have, I like to mention about one person that I knew. That person is still there, so I will not divulge that person's identity to protect his or her identity. But this is actually what happened. I saw. By profession, that person is a physician, still practicing. Not here, in some other state. And once that person went to India for some family function. She reached Mumbai airport. And when she reached Mumbai airport, she got some news, phone call from somebody here. There is an emergency, you have to come back right away. So that person took the return flight, didn't even go home in Mumbai, took the return flight and came back. What she found when she came back is something unbelievable. We think some problem has come, we are so unhappy, such a big problem has come, but look at what happened to that person. When she came back from Mumbai, what she found was this. Her husband, she had a husband and two sons. One son was a doctor, one was in the college, second one is in the college. The first son, who was a doctor, was in the hospital doing his residency. He had night shift. He was not home. Husband and second son were sleeping in their own home. And in the middle of the night, there was a fire, electrical fire or some fire. And the neighbors saw smoke coming from the house. And then they called the fire department. And fire department came, and by the time the fire department came and put out the fire, the husband and son both died. The house was completely burned down. So when she came back from Mumbai airport, this is what she found. House was completely burned down. Husband had died. Son had died. She's standing there. Everything is lost. Everything is lost. Fortunately, the first son was in the hospital, so he was saved. Husband died, son died, house burned down, everything, all property, everything that was in the house totally reduced to ashes. She's standing there, no place to go. What would happen to an ordinary person under such circumstances? Extreme calamity, extreme kind of adversity. She remained absolutely calm. I talked to her. Absolutely calm, unperturbed. Then I remembered this verse. I remembered Sita Prajna. She is a Sita Prajna. She is still there. She remained absolutely calm. She had no place to stay. She stayed with a friend for several months. then to reconstitute all the paperwork, all the insurance and property and deeds and all paper, everything, all property, everything, furniture had been burnt to ashes. House was reduced to ashes. Husband died, son died. She remained absolutely calm. No crying, no lamenting, though this happened. No, no. She said, it's okay, I'll deal with it. She said, I'll deal with it. It's okay, I'll do. She did that one. She stayed in a friend's house for several months and slowly began to rebuild her life. And she's there. I talked to her a few days ago also. Such people are there. Very rare, but such people, they are Sthita Prajnas. So, Dukkeshu Nirvigmanaha means even in the face of extreme adversity, a person has inner calmness, does not become disturbed. Like Swami Sharadananda or like this other person whose identity don't want to reveal because she is still there. So next time when we meet, we shall continue the verse number 56. Similarly, second part of it is Sukhesh Vigata Sprahaha. When happiness comes, a person should not become attached to it and assume that it will continue forever. Things will change in the twinkling of an eye. Today you are very happy, everything is going very well, and we can't assume that it will be like that forever. In the next moment, things will change. It does not take much time for things to change, and very, very difficult situation may arise, or the opposite may happen. So we will consider or examine all these things in the verse number 56. Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha. A person becomes free from three things. Raga means attachment, Bhaya means fear, Krodha means anger. How can a Sthita Prajna remain free from all these three things which afflict most ordinary people? All those things we will study next time when we get an opportunity. Now I shall say the closing prayer. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may all be happy, may all be free from diseases and afflictions, may all realize what is noble and auspicious, may no one be subject to misery. Om, peace, may there be peace in our hearts, may there be peace and harmony amongst all the beings, may there be peace everywhere in nature. Harihi Om Tat Sat Sarvam Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.